Shabbat Shalom and good morning, everybody. I'm Rabbi Javier Carapan, and I am joined this morning by Rabbi Monica Kleiman, Leslie Carmen, and our technical team. Special thank yous to our BOW committee for bringing us beyond our walls. This morning, we also welcome our Bar Mitzvah, Ilan Steigman, along with his family and friends. A few housekeeping announcements. First, this morning, Ilan will become a bar mitzvah, and he will do three things. First, he will be our shaliach tzibur. He will lead our congregation in prayer. Number two, he will give a dvar Torah, words of wisdom about the Torah portion, and then he will be called up for his own aliyah, and he will read in Hebrew lots of things, but those are the main three things he's going to do. The prayer books open from right to left, and we're using the pages in the square brackets. And this is a test to see if you can find page 290, which we're going to use it in just a minute. I'm sorry, this is not the test. The test comes at the end of the service. This is just the introduction. We read everything together, so there are no responsive readings. So we invite you to join us in the readings and, of course, in the songs. We ask that you refrain from taking photos or videos during the service. Also, please, no applause. If you'd like to show your appreciation, you can do this. This is what we do at camp, at least during services, at summer camps. This is what we do, at least in the Jewish context. And again, take a moment to silence your electronic devices, putting away all your cell phones if you need to, or airplane mode, whatever it is that you do so we don't get interrupted. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, the link to the prayer book pages, PDF, and other information could be found in the comments. If you're joining us on our virtual sanctuary, the link to the PDF is right above the player, and all other links were in your e-news. And again, for those of you joining us through our virtual platforms, it's important that you write down this number. It's TAL, our technical assistance line. It is 913-303-1134. If you have any problems with the streaming, please text that number, and one of our docents will get back to you, and hopefully will help you get back on the service. For everybody else who's here, the service is being streamed, and it's also being recorded. So if you would like to, watch yourself later on, you'll be able to do that by going to our YouTube channel or our webpage. We have several ways of doing that. If you cannot find it, ask us. We'll let you know how to get there. So again, it's wonderful to welcome everybody who's here joining us on this Shabbat remotely and in person. We join together on page 290 as we continue our service with Ma Tovu.
Left משכנותיך,
Service continues on page 291. We'll read together in the middle of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to sustain life before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofe chol basar umafli la'asot. We continue with Elohai Neshamais on page 292. We continue together on page 297. Adonai, our God, may the words of your Torah sweet to us and to the house of Israel, your people, that we and our children may be lovers of your name and students of your Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of Torah to our people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, המלמד תורה לעמו ישראל. We continue together at the top of page 302 as we sing selections from Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir. Mizmor Shir leYom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot Adonai, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד רבות בחסדך, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Page 306. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol הנשמה שהללויה, As I mentioned at the beginning, Ilan is going to perform two major tasks this morning. The first one is coming up now. I'd like to invite Ilan to join me on the bima as he would lead our congregation in prayer. We will turn now to page 312. Give us a second to make sure that we got.
At the nose, yeah.
At the nose?
Testing.
Testing, there you go.
Yitgadar v'yitkadash shemeyah V'yamad yivrach yoti v'yamlich malchutech B'chayehon u'yomehon u'v'hayeyo Yisrael B'gala u'yom kariv Shmeira b'mevarach le'olam u'me'omaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yidarav v'yinazam v'yinaseh v'yitala v'yitala Shmeir kudusha b'reihu le'elam minho birata v'shirata tushbechata v'neferata dami al yama
Baruchu et Adonai,
We continue on page 314. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, a welcome and gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring words from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. We continue on page 317. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagine you separate ways. O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel, and joyfully remember them from the dawn of Israel's life. We return to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our heart. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of you too.
Baruch atah Adonai, Abocher ve'amo Yisrael, be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch
Shem
Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha v'chol nefshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher hi mitzvacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'divartam ba'am v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvleftecha b'derech uvshovtecha uvikumecha uvshartam leot al-yedecha v'chayim letotafot b'neinecha uvtaftam al mezuzot beitecha v'lisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני
Adonai Elohechem emet.
Please turn to page 321. I'd like to now invite my sister Noah to the bima.
Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles and earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, whose soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Imoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanora, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah gibor elam Adonai, Mechayev etim atah Moshiach, Morit atah, Mechachel chaim bechesed, Mechayev etim berachamim lamim, Somech novelim ve'ofech oholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha gedulot, Umido melach, Melech
I'd now like to invite my sister Avi to the bima. I've got it here.
The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat we try to become attuned to holiness and time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share what is eternal in time, to turn creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us the help to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged. Holiness and your spheres, peace enough to leave our sins. Look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. Baruch atah Adonai, We continue on page 334 with Shim Shalom.
Shalom, Tova Uracha, Reina Chesed Be'achavim, Be'achavim Aleichem, Be'alto Yisrael, Be'alto Yisrael Ovecha, Barcheinu Yotzreinu Kulanu
continue our services with silent meditation. You may be seated when you have completed on page 337.
Service continues with the service for the reading of the Torah. It begins on page 362. And I would like to invite the ark openers, Aaron, Bartley, and Solomon and Emil. And also, I would like to invite Rabbi Steigman, William and Phyllis Steigman, Celia Falikov, and Peter Gurevich to join us, and Stephen and Tamara. And if you're able, please stand.
אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכות המלכות, כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
It is our tradition to physically pass the Torah scroll from one generation to the next. And what a wonderful lineup you have, Ilan. It's a beautiful sight to see. This Torah scroll is special for our congregation and for Ilan's family because they participated in the writing of this Torah scroll. And as I was coming this morning, I noticed a theme through the morning, something to do with trees. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll explain to you. So there are two Hebrew words for tree. One is etz, and each one of these poles here are called an etz. And the other word is, of course, Ilan. So as this morning I was thinking about the importance of the Torah, not so much the content, the letters themselves, but what we carry. And I know that for Ilan's family, the journey has taken, like some of us, to other parts of the world. Some of it started far away in Argentina. It's not far away for me, of course, because it's where I was born and lived for many years. But it is really something that shows us how we as a Jewish community are united all over the world. And I feel that this eitzim, these trees, have held the Torah, something physical we can hold on to as we go from one generation to the next, a long chain of tradition from all over the world to get to this point, Ilan. And it's coming your way, and I know, I know you'll be able to carry it with pride and honor. Again, going back to the very beginning, I told you three things. Shaliach Tzibur, leading our congregation in prayer, which was wonderful, beautiful. Yashar Koach, you have 1/3 of the way there. The next one is the Devar Torah, the words of wisdom. I'd like to invite Ilan to join me on the bima for his speech.
Shabbat Shalom. My Torah portion is Pikudei, the final parasha or portion in the book of Exodus. In English, Pikudei means ordinances. In some years, Parasha Pikudei is paired with Parasha Vayakel, but this year, Pikudei stands alone. The book of Exodus describes God freeing the Hebrew slaves from Egypt and the beginning of the journey in the wilderness. It includes the giving of Torah at Sinai. Parasha Pikudei describes the records and materials used in the construction of the Mishkan, a portable sanctuary that would be used throughout the wilderness, enabling the people, and especially Moses and Aaron, to communicate with God. When the Mishkan is completed, Moses and the Israelites celebrate by anointing the portable sanctuary. God's presence fills the sanctuary and leads the people throughout their journeys. The part of the parasha that I will read contains the final verses of Exodus. It talks about the first offerings made to God, how Moses and Aaron would prepare themselves before they entered the Mishkan, and the final part, which I think is the most interesting, is how God would show God's presence in the tabernacle. God's presence was shown by a cloud by day and fire by night. When the cloud lifted from the Mishkan, the Israelites would pick up and move, and they would keep going until the cloud of God's presence settled once more over the Mishkan. I want to focus on the uncertainty felt by the people not knowing whether and when they would be moving forward. They could be set for a matter of days, for a few years. I wondered why God set up this way. What was God trying to teach the people, and why? I asked my grandma Linda, and she said that God and the people had a bargain. God brought the people out of slavery in Egypt, and in return, expected the people to follow God's laws and be obedient to God. I thought about how hard this must have been for our ancestors, and how much uncertainty we face daily. About 2 years ago, the COVID virus threatened to infect the entire planet and change our lives immediately. We had to focus on so many more things than usual. Would we get sick? How would schoolwork change? How would we keep up our friendships without being with each other? How would it affect the plans for the coming year? And I thought about how I cope with these uncertainties and still deal with them in my daily life. My personal experience with COVID is an interesting one, and one that caused my family a lot of uncertainty. In March, for spring break, my family decided to go to Spain. It took a long time planning and a few people screaming at each other, but eventually it was going well and we were exploring and having fun. About 5 days into our trip, my youngest sister started to feel sick. We were on our way to a very small village, so when we got there, we gave her a COVID test. I think you can guess what happened from there. One by one, each of us got sick with COVID. Fortunately, we were all well vaccinated, taking lots of precautions, and there were pharmacies on every corner. So COVID was more of a nuisance in delaying our return than the serious illness it could have been. What was most challenging was the uncertainty of who might get sick next and when we could return home. I know that on most people's minds right now is the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and how horrifying it must be for the people in Ukraine, and how uncertain it must be for them because they don't know when the horror could happen at any time. Even for the people who have escaped, they worry about their loved ones still in Ukraine. Another type of uncertainty in many people's lives is the matter of food insecurity. Since the beginning of the pandemic, food insecurity has gone up more than 30%. This is mostly due to the fact that many people have lost their jobs and cannot afford the food they need. Thankfully, most of us here are very lucky to have a good food supply. To help with this issue of food insecurity, I have been volunteering at the JFS food pantry. I usually help box foods and package them so they can immediately go to people in need. Even though the last few years have been very difficult in so many ways, there are things we have learned. We have learned how fragile life is. We have learned how valuable our friendships are, even though we don't know when we will see people again. There has been uncertainty about traveling to family events, but the silver lining is we have learned how to be with people virtually. We've learned the real value of being with family. And we are streaming the service for those people who are not able to be with us in this sanctuary today. Like our ancestors, all of us can feel the presence of God with us this morning. Shabbat Shalom.
All right.
Got it? For those of you who have access to a Chumash, it's a red, thick book you may have in front of you. The reading is in the red book and on page 683. And also the blessings for before and after reading the Torah are on page 368. We were reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 22 to 38. These are the final sections of the book of Exodus. If you are wondering why are we reading the book of Exodus at this time of the year, the pandemic, that's the answer. Pretty annoying pandemic. So we had to reschedule, as many of you know, Ilan's Bar Mitzvah, and we didn't change the Torah portion too much. So in other congregations, if you were in Shul last week or go back next week, they'll be reading about Leviticus and all that. But now we're reading the end of the book of Exodus. So for the first Aliyah, I would like to invite Ilan's grandparents, Rabbi Steigman, William and Phyllis Steigman, Celia Falikov, and Peter Gurevich. Ya'amadu l'Aliyah harishona.
Vaitain et Hashah Be'ach HaMoed Yered HaMishkan Tzapotach Michut LaParochet Vaya'aron Alan Eran Lihen Lifnei Adonai Kasher Siva Anahai et Moshe Vayased et Hamnocha Be'ach HaMoed Nocha Shashla Yered HaMishkan Negba.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tzelkeinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Thank you. Yep, everyone can move right here. You still get to be part of the front. You're doing great.
For the second Aliyah, I would like to invite Ilan's aunts and uncles, Anna, Yael, Sam, Ellen, John, Barbara, and Susan. I didn't try to read all the last names. I know you know who you are. And it's on the program too. Yes, there you go.
Please, just read the thing.
You're gonna have to huddle a little bit.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach, Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, Ve'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Vaya Hanerot Lifne Adonai Kasher Siva Anahai and Moshe. Vaya Sam and Misbach Hazahar Beachamoed Lifne Haparochet. Vayakter Alan Katuret Samim Kasher Siva Anahai and Moshe.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet, V'Haye Olam Natan Betoheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
For the next Aliyah, I would like to invite members of our congregation and friends of Ilan's family, the Fisher Raymond family. Ya'amadu l'Aliyah ha'shlishit.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, Ve'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
Vaya Sam Masar HaPetach Namishkan Ve'Mizbeach Halam Sam Petach Michutz Ochamoed Vayalahan Et Hala Vet HaMizbeach Kasher Siva Anahai et Moshe Vaya Sam Et Hakior Bet Ochamoed Uven HaMizbeach Vaiten Samach Mayim Nuachatza Rasumi Menu Moshe Vaharon Uvanan Ayalehem Ved Raglehem.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet, V'Haye Olam Nata B'Tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
For the next Aliyah, I would like to invite Ilan's parents, Tamara and Stephen. Yamadu l'Aliyah ha'reviyit.
et Adonai hamvarach. Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Bava'am Ohamo'ed Ukovatam Ahamizbeach Yichatsu Kashe Siva Anahai Emoshe Vayakem et Hechatse Saviv Emishkan Velamizbeach Vaiten Emasasha Hechatse Vaicha Moshe et Hamlacha Vaichas Henant et Ohamo'ed Ugvor Anai Malech et Hamishkan.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Amen. Thank you.
Before we read the fifth Aliyah, it's also the last Aliyah of the book of Exodus. And the tradition is to conclude right after Ilan finishes the reading of the Torah with the words Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek, which means be strong, and we shall be strengthened. So words of encouraging for somebody who finished reading the Torah scroll. So you get extra boost today. Yamod, 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 Israel ben Sar v'Tamar, Bar Mitzvah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
You got this.
V'lo yachol Moshe לעבוד המועד כשכן עלן הענן וכבוד עיני מלך את המשכן. ובהעלות הענן מעל המשכן ייסעו בני ישראל בכל מעשיהם. וימלוך יעלה הענן ולא יכול ייסעו עד יום העלותו. כי ענן עיני המשכן יומם ואש לילה בו לנכו בית ישראל בכל מעשיהם.
Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek.
ברוך אתה עיני אלוהינו מלך העולם שנתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נשא בתוכנו. ברוך אתה עיני נותן התורה.
Amen. Yasher koach. Mazel tov. It is our tradition that during the Torah service, we offer special Misheberach for those in need of healing. For those of you joining us virtually, you can find a link to the Misheberach list in the comments. If you like to type names, we invite you to do that now. And for all of us here in person, go around the sanctuary. You have an opportunity to mention names out loud for the healing prayers, starting on this side. On this side. We think of those in need of healing. We join together on page 371. As we think of those in need of healing, we offer a prayer for those suffering from addiction and mental health struggles. May the one who blessed our ancestors bring blessings of strength, compassion, and healing to those of us who struggle with the oppression of addiction, emotional distress, and mental suffering. Surround them with loving kindness, grace, companionship, and peace. Service continues on page 370. Like to invite, let me see here the names that I have. Zach Swivelman and Raphael Langston Falikov Davis to join me on the bima for the Hakva'a and Gelila, and ask everybody to please stand. Yamedu hamakbia ve'hagolel. All right. See if that's good. Say hello.
Hello.
Louder.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
You can use outside, your outside voice. How's that?
The first people I would like to thank are my parents, who have always been there for me for whatever I need. The next people I would like to thank are Rabbi Monica Kleiman, Rabbi and my grandma, Linda Steigman, and Rabbi Javier Carapan. You have all helped me learn Hebrew and improve things that I needed help with. Special thanks to my grandma Linda, who helped me with all aspects of preparation. I'm very grateful. Now, unfortunately, I have to thank two people, my sisters. Even though you guys are annoying, you're probably expecting me to say but. There's no but. There's just annoying. But as all younger siblings are, but I know deep down in both of you, I've probably experienced this a few times, barely. You are kind and nice. Thank you, Jewish Family Services, for allowing me to work with their food pantry for my mitzvah project. At today's Kiddush luncheon, you'll see bowls of fruit on the tables along with information about JFS at Canada Bay's Market, an organization that helps provide healthy food in a neighborhood that oftentimes doesn't have access to healthy choices. And thank you to everyone who has come long distances to be with me on this special day. I want to thank my grandparents who could be here, Nona, Peter, Grandpa, Mom, and Grandma, and everyone who came from all over the world, all over the country, including family and friends from New York, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Seattle, Oakland, San Diego, Chicago, and Boynton Beach, Florida, and those who are streaming from Argentina and elsewhere. I'm now going to do my Haftorah introduction. So, before I start reading my Haftorah, I'd like to explain what it is and the differences between it and my Torah portion. One of the first differences that's probably the most important is that it's set way after my Torah portion. After the Jews make it to Egypt, they form a government, or technically a monarchy, and elect a king. Then right after that, because now Jews could stay in one place, they built the first temple in Jerusalem. My Torah portion explains the materials used in the building of the tabernacle in the wilderness. My Haftorah explains the materials and things used for a more permanent temple. I imagine our ancestors must have felt a sense of relief and security when they had the opportunity to build a brick and mortar home for God as opposed to the mobile Mishkan from the wilderness. Please turn to page 372 for the blessing before the Haftorah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher ba'achai b'nviim tovim v'atzah v'divrechem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'moshe avdo u'viseh amo u'b'nvieh ha'emet v'atzedek. V'yavi'u hakohanim et Aaron b'ri Adonai al makomo el devir havayit el kadesh hakodashim el tachat kanafai hakuvim ki hakuvim torsim kanafayim el makom ha'aron v'yasochu hakuvim al ha'aron v'al badai Miyamaya. V'ya'arihu ha'vadim v'ya'ra'u ha'ser ha'dashim miz ha'kodesh el penei ha'zavi v'lo ya'ru ha'za'u v'yit yu sam al hayom hazeh. Ein ba'aron Rag Shnei Luchot Ha'avanim Asher Haniach Sam Moshe Brochet Asher Karat Adonai Im Bnei Yisrael Mitzetem Me'eretz Mitzrayim. Maya Ti בצאת הכהנים מהקודש, והענן מלך את בית אדוני. ולא יכלו הכהנים להמיר לשרת מפני הענן, כי מלך כבוד אדוני את בית אדוני. אז אמר שלמה אדוני אמר לשכון בהר יפה. בניתי בית זבור להר, מקום לשבטך עולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, סוכו העלמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שמע דבר אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים, ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומעריכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Man, this suit is hot.
All right, I get to be the first one to, here, I'll take that. I get to be the first one to ask you, how do you feel?
Relieved.
Relieved, good. So in just a moment, I think your parents will feel a little more relieved because it's my pleasure to call Stephen and Tamara up to share a blessing for Ilan at this special moment.
I don't know, I'm not very comfortable in front of microphones. So, Ilan, come closer. You want to come over there?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Here we are. Yes. You're leading us in Shabbat services as an adult, dressed in a suit and tie, wearing a gorgeous talit from Grandma, one that reflects your name and your love for nature. Over the course of your life, you will lead other services and wear other talitot. In fact, the one I'm wearing today has meaning in my life and in your life too. Mom and I were married under it when it served as our chuppah. Then 5.5 years later, to be not exact, but close enough, it was held above you, right over there, when you were welcomed into the covenant of Jewish people when you were 8 days old. Now, you may not remember that day. Perhaps that's best. And now, as I kind of, here, get a little bit closer. And now, as I envelop you in it, I want you to stand here for a moment and just look out. Look out at our congregation. Be proud of what you have accomplished today. And think about how much more you will do in the years ahead. My childhood rabbi, Henry Cohen, Zichrono Livracha, spoke about graduating from pediatric Judaism into a period where we start exploring how to apply our Jewish values to our everyday lives. Values of compassion for the needy, concern for the stranger, and a love for all people. It's our hope that you will continue on this lifelong journey of Judaism, not always sitting in a classroom, but exploring the joy of being part of the Jewish community. In our Siddur, there's a blessing that in part says, "May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Rachel and Leah, bless you on becoming a Bar Mitzvah. May you grow with strength and courage, with vision and sensitivity. May you search for wisdom and truth and work for justice and for peace. And may you always, always be certain of our love."
So before I started with the blessings for the Torah, Ilan said, "Mom, don't cry now." So I'm going to do my best, but just get ready, everybody. What a journey it has been to get you to this momentous occasion, Ilan. I know that you've worked for many years to get here, and the fact that you've had to learn 2 other languages at school on top of Hebrew has not been a walk in the park. But you've committed yourself to learning about the Jewish faith tradition and participating in Jewish life on top of all of your activities, including soccer, track, and spending time with your friends whom you value so much. For me, this journey symbolizes something that our ancestors have marked as a life cycle event for centuries. It's a rite of passage which symbolizes that you are now ready to serve and be part of a larger community than yourself. You're marking a time when you can express your identity and embrace and uphold the tenets of tikkun olam, repairing the world. And we've seen the value that you've placed on social justice as evidenced by your mitzvah project in volunteering weekly at the Jewish Family Services Food Pantry. We're so very proud of you and all you have become and who you've become, a very gracious young man who is polite and kind most of the time. But you possess a deep knowledge of the natural world. You're always our go-to guy when it comes to insect identification or scientific knowledge about the earth and biology, and you're always my point person when I'm planting in the garden. I can rely on you and appreciate your help. I'll never forget about how you and your classmates at Academy Lafayette tried to stage a walkout a la Greta Thunberg to protest the lack of awareness among adults around the devastating effects of climate change, for which you won a citizenship award. Currently, you've been very attuned to what's happening in Ukraine, reading the news intently and reporting on updates. When I asked you why this mattered, you told me it was a devastating invasion by Russia and meaningful to you as it's part of my mom's side of the family. So for that, we have blue and yellow flowers to symbolize what's happening over there right now. As you know, my mother's parents, your great-grandparents, came from 2 small villages in Ukraine before they fled due to the pogroms. And they came to Argentina, where my parents, your grandparents, were born. And as you already know, in Judaism, many times parents choose an initial or name of a deceased relative as a way to honor our memory. And to that end, we named you Ilan, after Stephen's beloved grandfather, Ira. And your middle names, Raul Falakov, in honor of my father, Raul Esteban Falakov. Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, immigrated to the United States with your nona, Celia Aide, who's here today. Hi, Mom. My father was a beloved person in our family, and I'm only sorry that he isn't here with you today to celebrate with us. My dad's love of critical thinking, the outdoors, and of performing mitzvot, good deeds, also exemplifies the caring for community that I know is instilled in you. And my dad had a corny sense of humor. Something else we do value in this family, although you have a great sense of humor. Ilan, may you always follow your heart and your mind, and may you always treat people fairly, justly, and as equals. May you continue to carve out your own path. I am sorry, I need a little break. Okay, much better. May you always continue to be a learner and a person that people can rely on for help and support. We love you so much, and we are thrilled to be surrounded by friends and family and those joining us online on this very special and meaningful day. We love you.
Service continues with returning the Torah scroll to the Ark on page 374. Would like to invite the Ark openers, Cassandra and the Walters family. No, they're not here. They're here, the Walters family? Yes, okay. Please come up forward. And everybody who's able, please stand.
It's
It's our tradition that we bless our families on this occasion together as a congregation. If you would like, please join us in Yevarechecha. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God grant you the precious gift of peace. May God grant you the precious gift of
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. This part is pretty painless, I guarantee you. I hope it is. As you were mentioning earlier, living with uncertainty that things in our lives will change seems to be part of the human experience. As you taught us this morning, Ilan, the pandemic has represented an extraordinary example of how things can change in an instant. Well, 2 years of instance, but a lot of those things. The challenge is now to learn how to manage change. And one wonderful way of doing that is trying to find the silver lining in all the changes. And you gave us a good example. You got to stay in vacation longer, right? Sure. The lives of the Jewish people got through some near cataclysmic changes in the book of Shemot, Exodus, that we concluded reading today. We can be certain that our ancestors could not have imagined what was in store for them. Remember, the book began with the story of the descendants of Jacob being enslaved by a new Pharaoh in Egypt. The story began with oppression and hopelessness. At the end of the book, we learn that Israel's wanderings in the wilderness of Sinai on the way to the Promised Land are determined by the luminous cloud. The cloud might be there to give hope to the people and to help them cope with the daily uncertainty of when they're going to continue their journey. But there might be a little more to it. Many commentators notice that the contrast between the beginning of the book and its conclusion. Rabbi Beno Yaakov teaches, quote, "Our book, which began in darkness, concludes in the brilliant illumination of God's glory before the eyes of the entire house of Israel." The book opens with misery and oppression and closes on a note of confidence and hope. Ilan, we pray that your life as an adult Jew will be filled with happiness, health, and much success. And I think that you are already know, like nobody, that we, as much as we would like, cannot guarantee that the future will be rosy and nothing will change, or that you will have no challenges. But we do pray that when you find yourselves in a point in your life when you feel challenged, when you in the future may seem darkened to you, at that moment, remember the end of the book of Exodus, where things do get better, pandemics do pass, and our people made it to the Promised Land. Our people have kept hope, tikva, for many centuries as our guiding principle and managed many changes situations. You can do it too. Mazal tov, congratulations to you and to your entire family. It is now my honor to welcome a member of our board to present you with some words of congratulations and a gift. Peter Pizer, please. One more.
It is a pleasure for me to represent the Board of Trustees of this congregation to present this gift to Ilan. I know that I enjoyed our shared experience today, and looking at your faces, I saw that the rest of the congregation did so too, including his parents. I want you to always know, Ilan, that this community cares for you, and you will always call this temple home. I first met you playing Gaga. What a change it's been, and I'm so happy to be here. Please accept, on behalf of the congregation and the board, these gifts, and you don't have to open them now, you have a lot to do. The Kiddush cup is in here to help bring mitzvot into your home. The book of Jewish literacy by Rabbi Joseph Telushkin to help you feel confident in your Jewish knowledge, and a gift certificate from Nifty to apply to a future trip to Israel, yes, and a gift certificate of B'nai Mitzvah to help you remember this day. Mazel tov, and all the best.
Thank you, Peter. Our service continues on page 586 with Aleinu L'Shabech. If you're able, please stand and join us.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה לעצב בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. As we prepare for our moment of remembrance, I invite you to turn to page 596. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can beat. But if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. The psalmist said that in his affliction, he learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wished to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. We have heard of the passing of Tony Ross, brother and brother-in-law of Jeff and Gail Ross. And as a congregation, we are observing the Shloshim period for Arnold Zell Balanoff, husband of Diane Balanoff, father and father-in-law of Debbie and Jeff Chase, and Brian and Krista Balanoff, and grandfather of Oscar and Talia Chase, and Graham and Simon Balanoff. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Riva Balanoff, Robert Barding, Sylvia Brothers, Charlotte Cohn, Evelyn Dukowski, Violet Berman Finkenstein, Gay Franklin, Dorothy Goldstein, Morris Klutznick, Irving Lampert, Milton Irving Mann, Sarah Lee Optiken, Norman Reisman, Chava Sheik, Melvin Silverman. And on the occasion of Ilan's Bar Mitzvah, we remember Raul Falikov, Leo Falikov, Dora Samoilovich Falikov and Felix Falikov, Lillian and Ira Kirsch, Fanin Sisman de Jaez and Mauricio Jaez, Sophie and Solomon Steigman. If you are visiting this morning and are observing yortzeit, we don't have it on the list. We invite you to mention their names out loud. Any extra yortzeits? Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Page 598. Together we rise as a congregation to recite Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמה דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דע אמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו
short announcements. There will be a luncheon afterwards for everybody who would like to stay, or all invited. Also, make sure that you keep Ilan's program for this morning. On the last page, you can find a QR code where you can use your phone to have access to the Devar Torah that Ilan delivered this morning. And also there's information about Ilan's mitzvah project. We'd like to thank everyone who participated in the celebration this morning. A special thanks to Rabbi Kleiman, Leslie, Carmen, and our technical team who made it possible for everybody to hear what was going on here in our sanctuary and remotely. I would like to invite Ilan back to the Bima to join us in singing Ose Shalom. It's on page 647. It's also going to be on screen. If you're able, please stand and join us. Ose Shalom Bimbroma Uyase Shalom We'd like to invite Ilan's immediate family, parents, and Noah and Avital to join us up here for Kiddush and Hamotzi. So as soon as you go into the social hall in the Ulam, you'll be able to start the meal. So.
Thought it was wine.
Now grab it. You can get the challah there. Bring the challah here in front of everybody so they can all touch. You go. Lean in and touch the challah. Yeah, you go. Ready, what guys? 1, 2, 3. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, you grab it. Shabbat shalom, mazel tov. There you go. Grab a piece. No, you can grab a piece if you want, guys. Go ahead. Yeah.